Oddities. Stay strange.
Did we do it? Are we all started?
I think we are.
Cousin Nathan, did you start?
Yes.
Yay!
Oh my god, yay! How exciting! Everybody, today's a special day.
It's episode 250, and because of that, we have Cousin Nathan with us!
Yay! Hello, Cousin Nathan. How exciting. Thank you for being on with us. Today's a good day.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, before we get into all the fun things, we of course have to do our intro, everybody. So welcome back to Oddities. I'm Cassie.
I'm Kelly.
And
I'm Nathan.
yay! And welcome back to Strange Town. As per usual, all of our social media information is in the description, as well as a link to our Patreon. If you'd like to support our show, you can get an extra episode every week for as low as $1 per month. Also access to all of our former episodes too, and their videos, so you get to see our sunshiny, happy faces. We also have a merch shop if you would like to check that out. We run sales all the time on there. And of course, we have our website and email in the description. If you would like to please send in any, topic recommendations, or if you have a story of your own you'd love to share for a future listeners episode, we love those. Or if you just want to say hi, we love that too. Yay.
Yay!
So, how's my bestie and how's my cousin Nathan?
First off, love that you're like, how's my cousin Nathan? Adorable. Adopted.
Automatically my
It's
cousin
amazing.
too. Yeah.
Well, your bestie is in a sling.
Womp womp.
It's been an interesting, I don't know, week, month, year. Where are we at in life?
It's been an interesting 30 years.
It really has.
When you think about it, it's really weird we're just alive.
I mean
it
you're
is
not
weird.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the first week of summer, and here I am. So
Here we are. It is, first of all, we're going to have 100-degree, 99-degree weather this week. I'm not looking forward to it because it's also going to be 1,000,000% humidity. I hate it. We're officially
I'm so
in swamp
sorry.
ass season. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. 'Cause,
Missouri's already been there for a week.
and I've already been
brutal.
there for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but you don't have the 80% humidity.
No, but it's been dry and awful and windy here. So
You need to go make some eggs outside.
ew. Do you know how expensive those things are? What a waste
True.
of money.
Fair. Well, I never said you didn't have to eat them. Go ahead and eat them after. Okay, so you're slinging it. How's our cousin Nathan doing?
I actually had some good luck.
Yeah?
I just randomly went into the library last week, and it was like, oh, we have the library sale. It's like the third time I've gone, and they randomly have the library sale.
So they're just are they just getting rid of some of their books for super cheap?
People also donate them.
Amazing.
Yeah, they are super cheap. It's really great. And one that I got, it's one I liked, and I opened it, and it's signed by the author.
Stop! Really? That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the book? Who's the author?
Spellwright by Blake Charlton.
Neat. I don't know anything about this person or that book, but it sounds really cool.
That's awesome. That is really lucky.
Yeah, that is good luck. Wow.
It's where spelling and writing let you do magic, and the main character is dyslexic.
Oh my god, it's me.
So that causes
It's
all kinds
Kelly.
of problems.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds interesting. I started a new book this week, so I have a treadmill for under my desk while I'm working, but there's very limited things that I can do at work while I'm walking on the treadmill without like without like falling off the thing and kill. So I've started to read a few pages of this book to give myself like a mental break while I'm doing it. And so I started I think it's Throne of Glass series. It's okay so far. There's not
Oh,
like a whole lot happening, but I'm only like 10 pages in. It's- I'm not very far along. But the good
I'm
news is I can read and walk on the treadmill at the same time, it turns out, without falling off the thing.
I'm very much picturing you on the treadmill and working at the same time.
I tried. Like, there's limited activities that I can do. I can read emails, I can respond to short emails, and I can check certain metrics, but outside of that, I will, like, actually, I think, injure myself.
I'm just going
I
back.
actually,
Sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
I actually saw a comic not too long ago, probably a couple of years ago, where somebody was saying how this trend ends, and it's somebody saying humans aren't meant to sit down all day, and they've strapped their laptop to the back of a deer and they're trying to chase it down.
I mean, yeah, that's probably like the next step in the evolution for me. step step one, treadmill. Step two, strap it to a deer. Or if
I'm
we want to
just
be spooky about it, it could be the not deer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just keep going back to, I think it was this week, maybe it was last week. You got so irritated with work, you're like, I'm going to my home gym.
I did. I went downstairs and I lifted weights. I've started making that a regular practice too. I swear to God, people, like I do put in the 8 hours in the day. Like I'm on at like 6:30 in the morning and I'm off at like 5 something. So like all these things that I'm doing in between, I
Look,
swear I am getting in my hours. I promise.
there is only so much she can take when you're calling her the wrong name, though.
Oh my God, I know. The horrors persist. What are we gonna
And,
do?
if you don't want her yelling at you, she's got to go pump some iron in between.
I have to go lift. I have to go lift weights or walk on the treadmill. Apparently, yeah. So either that or I start petting the cat, and then I feel at peace with the world.
Animal therapy is the best
I mean,
therapy.
yeah, big time. And it's such a zoo over here. Cousin Nathan, by the way, I heard you have a joke for us.
Oh, yes.
Do we need to prattle some more?
Yes, you're
Okay.
cows.
Yeah, we are cows. All right, let's prattle away.
But yes,
Well, how's
don't
my...
tell your sister.
Don't tell my sister.
Oh,
Perfect. All right, so prattling away. So the second half of Bridgerton has dropped. I gotta be honest.
I
Was one of the
cannot get
seasons-
into that show, Cassie.
This was probably the season I was most excited for, and it is garbage. It's
Is it?
not, I mean, well, I haven't started the second half yet, so I mean, maybe we're gonna have like a huge, like, recovery in the second half of the season. But the first half, like, it was so disappointing. And also, like, the two main characters for this season, their storyline was one that I've been very invested in the last couple seasons. And, like, the writers shit the bed with this. I don't know what happened. And it's just, like, focused on everybody else. It's really tragic and sad.
Okay,
But
so the two main characters, is it that, like, one chick and that one dude?
okay, that's really helpful. Super helpful descriptions there.
She's...
It's the redhead.
Okay. And,
Yeah, Penelope, and Colin is his name.
Okay,
Which he used
so-
to be like kind of hot, but I don't know what happened. And everybody's like, "Oh, he had such a glow up." But honestly, I think he looks kind of funky this season. I like he looks different. He looks like somebody else entirely to me. But they
Okay.
didn't change the actor, so I don't know what happened there.
all I have to say about that is, like, everyone is shipping them online.
I
Like,
know,
massively.
and
And all
I
I
too
have to
have
say about
shipped
that-
them.
Okay, what's funny is he hard launched his relationship with somebody else at the premiere.
Did he really? I missed that
This
because I
week.
was like, oh my God, okay, because there's been so many rumors that they're dating. Wow, wait, hold on, conspiracy theory time. What if he hired the person that he hard launched with, and he's actually with the other chick?
Maybe.
I mean, you never know, right?
Mm.
Contrastingly, last night I volunteered at the local theater, and I got to see Inside Out too, and it was adorable. It was so good.
Was it?
Mm.
Yeah.
My child is so excited to see that movie.
Your child should be excited to see that movie because it's so good. It was so good. I loved it. Love to see it. Highly recommend. 100 out of 10.
Any more references to Chinatown?
Uh, no, I don't think so, actually. Actually, you know what? I gotta be honest. So well, I don't want to give it away for people. So never mind. I was gonna say what the majority of the movie's about, but we're gonna not. I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
I still highly recommend the movie If. Anywho.
I know. I still have to watch that. Have you seen that one, Cousin Nathan?
No, I don't know. What's that one about?
It has, I believe it was Ryan Reynolds, and it's the imaginary friends who had to be relocated, or the adoption.
Okay, that's interesting.
The adoption program for them. I didn't know what to expect with that movie because I actually hadn't seen a lot about it, and we thought it was going to be more targeted towards kids, but it really wasn't. Michael and I were sobbing by the end of the movie.
Oh no.
Maybe you can cheer them up with the fun, lighthearted fantasy movie, Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh my god. First of all, I love Pan's Labyrinth. I saw that for the first time when I was in high school. I think we watched it in my English class because we were covering like magical realism or something. And nobody warned me how freaky that shit was. And then when I watched it for the first time, and the guy has eyeball hands, blew my mind.
Yeah. I saw that in a film class my freshman year of college, and he insisted on having it in subtitles so we could listen to it in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But they also screwed up the projector settings so it was all in black and white, too.
Oh, that makes it
And
spookier.
there's a bunch of questions, like, on the after film quiz about the color symbolism. He's like, just
Oh no.
take that off. I can't. We spent like 15 minutes trying to figure this out. So just skip those questions. I won't count them.
Poor dude.
Actually, so the guy who Guillermo del Toro took a ton of art inspiration for, his name is Mike Mignola. He's a comic artist. And I actually just got a book that's illustrations from Pinocchio. An illustrated version of Pinocchio, which is also like one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite books.
Oh.
And I just started looking through it. It's very nice. And it's got like Mike Mignola is the artist who he wrote and drew Hellboy, the comic.
Oh, interesting.
It's very distinctive style.
Cool.
Very interesting. Thank you for that fact.
Yeah, thanks, Cousin
Yeah.
Nathan.
Oh, and Guillermo del Toro has a new movie.
No.
Does he?
What movie?
Yes, it's on Netflix. It's actually Adventures of Pinocchio.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
And it is stop motion animated.
Oh, I'm not into stop motion. I can't do it.
It's very good.
Is it? Okay, I
Well
can try
done
it.
animation.
Okay.
And it's like very, I don't know how like kid friendly it is.
Noted.
I think it is, but watch it first.
I
Yeah.
have no
It's-
children.
It's
cool.
not like it's not like scary, but like emotionally invested, because at least as much of the story is Geppetto's like learning to realize Pinocchio is not the son he lost, and learning that accepting Pinocchio for who he is means accepting that his son is dead.
Oh, it's a little heavy.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like Pinocchio's trying to live up to his dad, and his
It's
dad.
the dark side of
since he-
Pinocchio.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's very sort of cathartic that they sort of both learn to. Pinocchio learns to be himself, and his father learns to accept him and truly except that his son is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Well, I'll have to check it out. We are, I'm excited to say, we've hit our official lucky 13 minutes of
Yes.
prattle. Should we get to the good,
Ooh.
fun stuff? Should we get to the topics?
I believe we should. I have a very lighthearted topic compared to, I believe, what both of your topics are.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you feel is the best order then?
Well, shall we let our guest go first?
Yeah, let's do it. The guest. Do you feel okay about doing that, cousin Nathan?
Sure.
All right.
Be sure to keep an eye on so I don't take up too long.
Let's hear it. I'm excited.
I am so excited about Nathan's topic. I've been
I don't know what
excited
it
about
is.
it for months.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Well, I can't
Okay.
wait.
Okay, well, I am doing the McMartin preschool case.
Oh. I know nothing about this. I'm excited.
Okay, so, backstory of this is it's a preschool in Manhattan Beach, California, which is a suburb of, I believe, San Diego, and a kind of nice one. But, so, is run by this older woman named Virginia McMartin. She started the school. Her daughter Peggy sort of ran the school by this point. Virginia didn't really do a whole lot by now. Peggy runs it, and Virginia's grandson and Peggy's son, Ray, is a teacher there, and so is his sister. So, grandma, mom, son, and daughter. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
All
it's like a
family.
family affair. All right, cool.
Okay, yeah. There's other teachers there, but. So, this whole thing kicks off in mid 1983. So, right at the first season of Stranger Things, in case you were wondering.
Amazing.
And a parent of one of these students, Judy Johnson, reports that her 2.5-year-old son is being abused by her estranged husband and Ray, the son/grandson, at the school.
Oh no.
Now, there's a lot of controversy, especially since everything that comes after, but the son may or may not have denied all this. But the police rule out her husband.
Right.
Okay.
And then they continue to investigate and look into what's going on. During this, Judy also says that Peggy, the mom, was also committing abuse, mostly hurting kids, and that things like Ray can fly, he would dress as Santa Claus or ministers, and the teachers were killing rabbits in front of the children.
Oh.
They question him, but they don't have anything that sticks until a few weeks later, after questioning her some more, and he's arrested in September. The next day, the police send this letter to about 200 parents. Dear parent, this department is conducting a criminal investigation involving child molestation.
Oh no.
Ray Bucky, an employee of Virginia McMartin's preschool, was arrested on September 7th, 1983 by this department. The following procedure is obviously an unpleasant one, but to protect the rights of your children as well as the accused, writes, this inquiry is necessary for a complete investigation. And goes on like, the records say your kids were or are students there, we're asking for your help. says, like, things to look for and ask about and, like, send it back. We ask you please keep this investigation strictly confidential because of the natures of the charges and highly emotional and effect it could have on the community. Please do not discuss this investigation with anyone outside your immediate family. Do not contact with Ray Bucky or any member of the accused family. And then in all caps, there is no evidence to indicate management of the preschool has any knowledge of the situation or detrimental information about the school. No other employee is under investigation at this time. So, you can probably guess that didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So they start interviewing the kids and asking about it, and a lot of this is done by a children's therapy group that specializes in abuse. Like, all around the world, they, like, help kids in, like, war zones and things like that as well. And a lot of these were recorded for legal purposes, and, like, they interview them terribly. They're asking them the stuff and, like, pushing when they say, no, there's nothing like that happening. And they're like, are you sure, and all this?
Yeah.
They're like, but they're like, well, did you see this? Or did you see this? And so they're asking about it. And, like, by this time, it's everywhere on the news, like, not just in Southern California, but all over the country and some international stuff. And on January 13th, 1984, the school closes after 28 years of operation. And by the spring of 84, the police now believe as many as 360 children were abused.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yes. And, like, for a bit of context, there had been, in the last few years around this, concerns about, and, like, stuff coming up in the news, or people coming out with these really wild stories. Like, there's one called Michelle Remembers, where a psychologist writes that he's helping one of his patients recover repressed memories of her abuse as a child that never happened. It's all wild, and it turns out they were sleeping together the whole time.
Oh my.
And then they get married.
Oh my.
And also at this time, like, people were becoming a lot more aware of child abuse because this is when we start getting mandatory reporter laws. So a lot more people are, like, realizing, oh, like, this is a lot more common than I thought, especially if you're a parent. But they're, like, recording all these things the kids are saying. They're seeing, like, that there's witches flying, there's like these weird rituals being done at car washes, they're being moved secretly in hot air balloons, underground tunnels, foreshadowing for later, or being flushed through the toilets down through the pipes to secret areas. And that's when things just kick into overdrive, and there's TV, news, newspapers, radio, everything. And on March 11th of 84, numerous daycares in LA and San Diego are raided by police. For
Wow.
hopefully, and, like, nothing comes from that. But
Really?
they don't find anything.
Okay.
But then on March 22nd, Ray, the son, Peggy, mom, Peggy Ann, sister, and Virginia, Grandma, as well as 3 other teachers, are charged with eventually 321 counts of child abuse of 48 children.
Oh my God. That's
Those
so
were the
sad.
ones they felt were the most credible.
Yeah. Oh God, that's awful.
The
A
others...
side note,
Sorry.
it cracks me up that there's a Peggy and a Peggy Ann.
Yes. That's why I'm only calling her Peggy Ann, because it's going to be so confusing
Yeah.
otherwise.
All right. Carry on, sorry.
Everyone except Ray and Peggy have very low-level bails, because they have most of the lesser charges. Peggy has $1 million bail set, and Ray is held without bail. Then, it's like about 2 years of like legal wrangling with their lawyers and all that. But in March of 1985, so about 2 years later at this point, parents get together at the school and start trying to dig up around the school looking for underground tunnels themselves. And sometime in 1986, one of the prosecutors resigns because he's upset that he's saying that the prosecutors are not sharing as much information as they should be with these people's lawyers, the defense. Peggy eventually makes bail in 1986 after being in jail for 2 years.
It
And
bothers me that she
one
made
of the-
bail at all. Like,
Yeah.
it bothers
Like
me.
how?
Yeah.
Well, you get the money back when you go
Well, yeah,
to court.
but still.
It's just the principle of it.
Yeah, but then one of the things that comes out in late 1986 that the defense is like getting all over pointing out the problems is that the prosecutors did not reveal that, sadly, Judy Johnson had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh.
And then after that, they claim that the trauma from all of this case and all these arguments is what caused it, her to have a breakdown like that. But they did know that she had been diagnosed years before and had been hospitalized previously. Judy Johnson is found dead in her house on December 19th, 1986, of chronic alcohol abuse.
Wow.
Oh boy.
And in January 1987, a new district attorney for San Diego or that area is elected, since DAs run. Now, he has a press conference and he says, like, a lot of these charges are not substantive, so he dismisses all the charges for everyone except Ray and Peggy.
Okay.
And eventually, Peggy Ann, the sister, does successfully claim to push to get her teaching license reinstated in 1989. But now, after three years of this, or actually 4 years, July 13th, 1987, the trial begins.
Oh my God, I can't believe it took. Never mind.
So
I could go
long.
on and on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Now the trial ends on January 18th, 1990,
Oh.
2.5 years later.
Oh my God.
During all this wrangling, in 1988, a number of parents appear on, and I wanted to see this for this episode, but it is like 2.5 hours, a Geraldo Rivera special on Satanism, which, if you don't know who Geraldo Rivera is, he's a reporter who did a lot of specials at that time. Infamously, like Al Capone's vault, where he like opens it live and it's completely empty. Yeah, but this one is like, it's not just the preschool parents. They have a number of cases of people who have done terrible things, like hurt people or themselves, and blamed it on Satanism and all that. Like, they go and interview it.
Mm-hmm.
They go and interview people and stuff. And they even have, like, a number of heavy metal musicians, too, because that was also a huge part of all the craziness that is the Satanic Panic. And viewers, if you want, I could do 3 whole episodes on the Satanic Panic just off the top of my head. This shit gets so wild. But yeah, they interview like even like Ozzy. They have Ozzy there. They have King Cobra and like a few D-tier metal musicians and all that. But eventually, during the trial, Ray makes bail. He gets his bail instated at $1.5 million during the trial, and people like donate money and like offer it for him.
Ew.
And he's able to leave jail after 5 years in jail. However, on January 18th, 1990, the jury finds Peggy not guilty on all charges, and Ray not guilty on 52 charges, and undecided on 13.
Oh my god. So much of this pisses
Nine
me
of-
off.
9 of the jurors say they believe there were children who were abused, but the way the children were questioned, they can't be certain of anything. And 11 jurors voted to find Ray not guilty on everything, but 2 were deadlocked them on those 13 charges. The parents pressure the prosecutor to recharge him in a trial lasting 3 months, where he's found not guilty on all of those charges. God. And it also came out that, like, a number of the one of the prosecutors started dating some of the people reporting on the case.
What
He got engaged.
happening?
He was engaged. He was engaged, got engaged to one of them, and one of the investigators also had been dating a reporter for, like, LA area TV news. But it is the longest and most expensive trial in American history.
Oh my god. I believe it.
Yeah.
And during the case, the prosecutor uses some of his pull to have an archaeologist help the parents continue to look for tunnels underground with radar, and they don't find anything, but many parents still don't believe that.
Yeah.
In 1991, the school's building is torn down, and in 1995, Virginia dies at age 88. And sort of as a follow-up in 2005, one of the kids is now an adult was saying, yeah, it's what it was like. I wasn't abused. I don't know of anyone else abused. Like, none of the kids I still talk to were abused. It was, we sort of just started saying what the people asking us questions wanted us to hear. The parents were like telling us like, do these are people who are trying to help, and you need to tell them what you know.
Okay.
And we just started telling them what we thought they wanted to hear.
Interesting.
I don't know what to make of this.
It's puzzling.
It is, right?
Yeah. It's puzzling and unsettling
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's possible
Oh, it's very possible.
that they
Yeah.
could, but it doesn't seem particularly likely to me, especially with what kicked it off. With, like, the police should have been suspicious of this.
100%.
Of what Judy was saying from the get-go.
Yeah.
And, like, they found out she had pretty severe mental health problems and kept going.
Yeah.
And, like, didn't, like, think, maybe we should, like, reassess starting over.
Right.
There's a lot of this. There's a lot that makes this whole thing very messy as well, and very poorly done. Like dating people in the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blows
and
my
I
mind.
And I didn't get into it, but like the judge was like hampering them a lot, the defense a lot, with like, oh, like, we're only going to let you have one expert witness where the prosecution has 7 for like interviewing experts on interviewing kids. And they were playing some of the recordings, and like even the jury was like, you're giving them ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a case. Good job, cousin Nathan.
Very, very
Thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah.
You came
I
to
don't
the
know what to
table
think.
with such good research.
Yeah.
And I mean, I expected nothing less, I'll be honest. I am your cousin.
True.
I do know you.
Thank you.
That was
Wow.
awesome.
Snaps
I don't know
for
what
Nathan.
to think. Yeah, snaps for Nathan. Yes. Super
you.
appreciate it. Wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna probably be thinking about this most of today, to be honest.
It's a lot to unpack.
there is a lot to unpack there. What do we think would be best next?
Do you want short and lighthearted? Or
Maybe we should do like, well, mine's like, yeah, maybe we should do short and light. I'm talking about dead people. So like, yeah, maybe we should do short and lighthearted next.
All right, I am talking
We'll
about...
buffer it. We'll sandwich it.
Yeah. I'm talking about Wojtek, the army bear.
Oh.
Okay. All right, that's unexpected.
Just for a preview, I've actually heard about this.
Oh, I guarantee I
And
knew you
I
heard about
love-
this.
I know nothing about this.
When I found this
Although-
topic, I'm like, I guarantee Nathan's heard about this. In spring of 1942, the newly formed Anders Army of the Soviet Union for Iran, accompanied by thousands of Polish civilians who had been deported to the Soviet Union following the 1939 Soviet invasion of eastern Poland, on the journey from Pavy to Tehran, Iran, on 8 April of 1942, the Polish soldiers encountered a young Iranian boy who had found a bear cub, whose mother had been killed by hunters. The civilian refugee in their midst, an 18-year-old named Irania Bojkovich, the great niece of General. Gosh, this name is so long.
Just freestyle it. It's
As
cool.
is tradition for Polish.
Yeah, do your best.
I'm just gonna say she's the great niece of a general.
Okay, sure, that works.
Was taken with the cub. She was taking care of the cub, and by the time that they were transported, the cub just kind of became trained and accustomed to the humans.
I love that.
It trusted the humans, and they named the cub Wojtek.
Wojtek.
Wojtek. It's all Polish to me.
Wait.
This cub had a difficult time swallowing and was fed condensed milk from an old vodka bottle.
Okay, first of all, I love condensed. I mean, I don't know if it was sweetened condensed milk, but sweetened condensed milk is my shit. I love it. It's so good.
And I just keep thinking about this bear drinking it from a vodka bottle, and it gets better.
I love it. Yeah.
Eventually, it was given fruit and marmalade, honey, and syrup. And then it was often
Marmalade?
rewarded.
Is this
Yep.
from Paddington? It's Paddington Bear.
You know, that's in my notes that Cassie was going to bring up Paddington. Anyways.
Stop!
I knew you were going to say that.
You knew. Okay.
They probably had trouble making a coat and hat for him in that size when he grew up, though.
You're right. You're probably right.
He was often rewarded with beer, and that became his favorite drink.
Oh, now I'm concerned. Did you say same? Me too.
He also later enjoyed smoking or even eating the cigarettes, as well as drinking coffee in the mornings.
Okay, now I'm sad.
He became a part of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company, and he often slept with the soldiers because it was his job to keep them warm.
Oh, a real life teddy bear.
Quite.
That was kind of being abused, but that's okay.
He enjoyed
kind of crossed with like a big beanbag chair. Almost.
There you go.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right.
He enjoyed wrestling with the soldiers and was taught to salute when greeted. He became an attraction for the soldiers and civilians alike, and soon became the unofficial mascot to all the units stationed nearby. With the 22nd Company, he moved to Iraq and through Syria and Palestine and Egypt. Wojtek copied the other soldiers, drinking beer, smoking, and even marching alongside them. His highlights, because he saw them do so, he had his own caregiver assigned to look after them. The cub grew up while on campaign. By the time the Battle of Monte Cassino, he weighed 90 kilograms, which is about 200 pounds. They trained him to essentially move crates and ammunition. He was the goodest bear of the army.
Yeah, he was the goodest bear. Little baby.
He was officially drafted into the Polish army as a private and enlisted among the soldiers, and was known as Corporal Wojtek.
You know what? As he should be.
He was
you will salute that rank.
Yes, you
Yeah.
will.
I would salute the
Just
shit out
as
of that
he is
bear.
saluting you.
He was a genuine, they really did treat him as a member of the army, and I think that that's really funny. Did they use him to attack things? No, because I don't think he actually knew how to attack another
I love that.
human being, but he was used to move things, and that's creative. After the war ended,
hardworking buddy.
After World War II ended in 1945, he was transported to Scotland with the rest of the 22nd Company, where they stationed at Winfield Airfield in Sunwick Farm near the village of Hutton, Scottish borders. Wojtek soon became popular among the local civilians and press and the Polish-Scottish Association, and they made him an honorary member. And he actually lived out the rest of his days in the Edinburgh Zoo.
Oh,
Like, he actually, there's a happy ending to this. I didn't think there was, but there
good.
is.
Oh, good.
He was visited by journalists and former Polish soldiers, some of who tossed cigarettes for him, which, again, okay, that's not very happy, but, like, he enjoyed them, so we'll leave that
I
alone.
mean, yeah.
He happily responded by being spoken to in Polish, recognizing many of his former unit. Media attention contributed to his popularity. He was frequently a guest on the BBC television Blue Peter program for children. He died on December 2nd, 1963 at age 21, probably because of all the cigarettes he was eating, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Probably didn't help. How old do bears usually live? Do you know?
I don't know, but I don't think I do think they live past 21, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, he just got to drinking age.
I think with proper diet and not eating cigarettes, they live longer than 21.
Probably. Okay.
Who knows how old that is in bear years, though?
True.
Oh, that's true. When he died, he was nearly 500 kilograms, which is almost 1,100 pounds, and
my.
he was 5'11", for reference.
Oh.
But I just thought this was a really cool little tidbit of history, that there was a thing such as the army bear.
Yes, what a good topic. Good job, bestie.
So there it is, sandwiched in happiness. The little sandwich of happy right there in the middle of...
A little slice of happy between death and death. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Tragic daycare, and then Cassie's going to talk about
Tragedy.
death now, guys.
That's right.
I've summed up as like, I know bears are dangerous, but consider the ears.
That's what I was just going to say. Those little nubbin ears.
But look at the ears.
Oh my
If
god.
I know what hug, why you look so soft?
Precisely. That was some
If
fun
not
one.
friend, why friend shape?
Correct. So everything about mine is the opposite of friend shaped. I'm talking about the living dead, the mummies of the Tana Toraja culture and their death culture, because I love death.
Bring it.
I really do. So
I wasn't aware of that.
And the more you know. So Tana Toraja takes the cake, probably, maybe even the whole bakery, as the most unique place on the planet to visit. It has a lot of beauty to offer, like luscious green rice terraces, windy roads, but probably the most interesting thing about it is the fascinating culture around death. The locals live beside their dead loved ones, sometimes for years, until they hold their funeral.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about this. So where is Tana Toraja? It's like a slice of land tucked into the contours of Sulawesi, which is an octopus-shaped island in central Indonesia. And it basically sits in the middle of an island that sits in the middle of Indonesia's sprawl of islands. So it's an islandception. Tana Toraja serves up basically typical Indonesian fare. It's got lush greenery, friendly and curious locals, lots of markets, rice paddies, all these wonderful things. But unlike the bulk of the country, they don't identify as Muslims, which is actually practiced by a whopping 89% of Indonesians, which I didn't know. And instead, they opt for animism. And technically, they're Protestant, which was introduced by the Dutch once upon a time because animism is not a recognized religion by the Indonesian government. But religion is a whole other basket in Indo. And the key takeaway here is that they maintain their animist roots. So in stark contrast to Western culture, which tends to, I would say, avoid death as much as possible. It's like a little taboo. Torajans see earthly life as a single step within a great journey. So rather than fear death, They actually look forward to it and see it as a cause for celebration, which I think is beautiful. And celebrate they do. So they have these elaborate, like 5 day funerals attended by the entire community. And they have this atmosphere of like, kind of like akin to like a music festival, which is interesting. So it's got this kind of level of acceptance and grace that's so often lost in Western society. But while their view of death may be refreshing, even healthy, some might say, it's not without its complexities, right? So their traditions lead to exorbitant funeral costs, even by Western standards, and often put families in very deep debt. And in fact, most Torajans spend their entire lifetime saving up for their funeral. Um, the
What
wealth,
it
yeah.
Sorry. Just what an interesting concept. I'm gonna save up my whole life for my death.
I know, right? It's like hard for me to wrap my mind around a little bit, but also like I mean I kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
almost like kind of like the some cultures in the Pacific Northwest who have parties that are judged by like how much debt or how much it takes from your life to your income to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I might be totally wrong about that, so
I mean, no sweat.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like here's a distinction though. So the wealth that I'm talking about for these people is in fact buffalo.
Oh.
So
Hmm.
the buffalo are actually their currency of choice. So it is important to note that a funeral over here it can't take place until all costs are covered, and that means everything. If enough is not saved during life, it becomes the family's responsibility to cover the rest, which is where it gets kind of interesting because since acquiring like money of sorts takes time, particularly when in the middle of an island, in the middle of islands, the dead are cared for in the family home after a healthy dousing of formaldehyde, of course, until finances are in order. So I want to go back. There's like a handful of terms that are going to come up during this, and I just want to like give a little bit of like some definition around some of this. So animism is a spiritual practice that believes that non-humans, animals, objects, etc., have a spiritual essence. The buffalo, the reason why it's so like epic and important is because it's a sign of wealth, and they're believed to safely carry the dead to the afterlife. Um, there's going to be something called manene, which is when the dead are taken out of their grave and cared for, like changing clothes, and that happens every few years. There's Puya, which is the land of the afterlife. There's Rambu Solo, which is an elaborate funeral, which takes place months to years after an individual's death. And then there's Rantipau, which is the largest town in Toraja. And then there's Tongkonan, which is traditional structures shaped with like sort of like saddle-like roofs, built for homes and funerals to represent the life cycle. So I want to talk about the cost of death.
Okay.
So dying anywhere in the world is pretty expensive, as we know. But in Toraja, it's like shockingly so. So to put things in perspective, let's look at some numbers together. So a bare bones funeral, ha ha, it's like 50,000 US dollars per person. For middle and upper class citizens, the final check is closer to 200,000 US dollars per person, going up to as high as 500,000 US dollars. Now keep in mind that the average yearly salary for a middle class Indonesian is about 12,000 US dollars. And so the vast majority of the population, they might live in like rural communities where actually it's more commonplace to earn closer to like maybe 2,000 US dollars a year. So in summary, for a $100,000 funeral, the average Torajan would basically need to save their entire yearly salary for like 50 years, which is bananas to think about. So as you can see, the cost of living and dying are like very skewed in an ever increasing globalized world with the internet at our fingertips and access to like the ways of other cultures. A lot of young Torajans are torn between maintaining their like traditional culture and saving all this money to pay for like these expenses and education, travel versus their imminent death. And like I can't really blame them. But funeral costs quickly add up when you're hosting a 5 day event with hundreds of attendees, and then you have to add in like 18 buffalo as part of like the whole thing, 20 pigs for sacrifice, and then food for hundreds of guests each day, and then 10 to 20 tongkonans, or huts, to be built for them, which will then be burned after the funeral takes place. Plus the
Wow.
cost of burial and caring for a mummy in the meantime, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I want to talk about mummification for a second. So
Who
while in
doesn't?
yeah, let's talk about mummies. So while in Toraja, um, there's like this account that I found, and this person stayed at like a local Airbnb hosted by a young woman named My Sky. But anyway, during their stay, My Sky had family waiting to be buried. And so she actually offered to these people who had come to stay to meet this dead person, which like they were like, sure, we'll meet them. But it was an odd experience, right? So these people arrive and they're instructed to speak to the deceased normally, like say hello, thank them for meeting them, and they respectfully walked around like multiple mummies laying in their coffins. And my guy said it was okay to like take pictures of them and stuff. Um, and she explained that there was a mummified woman who was wearing like this very pretty white dress and pearls. She'd actually died several years ago. And then there was a man in a tuxedo beside her who was her husband, and he had only passed away a few weeks prior to them visiting this person. Um, and in that corner of the world, like it's important to understand that a death and a funeral are two very separate events. So once a person dies, they're embalmed and they're kept in the family home until their funeral, which can be years after their death because of how freaking expensive all this shit is. So,
Yeah.
as mentioned before, like the families will just like take care of these mummies just like hanging out in their house. So in the case of My Sky's family, the woman didn't want to go into the afterlife without her husband, and so she chose to wait for him. So therefore they just let like the woman hang out as a mummy in their house. And so they plan to share their funeral arrangements in Buffalo, cutting the costs in half, which is actually pretty smart when you think about it. And so the time between a
And
death and
that's actually kind of sweet.
yeah, right. Like, yeah, we'll just like we'll do it together, and also like we'll share the buffalo, and it'll all be good. So the time between a death and a funeral is considered to be like a transition period, basically. Here, they're like they don't really feel that the deceased are quote unquote dead, but rather they're quote sick and very slowly beginning their journey to the afterlife, also known as puya, like I mentioned before. And so
Okay.
during this transition period, the mummies are gently taken care of like they're alive. They're made 4 meals a day. Their clothes are changed. Visitors stop by and have conversations with them. Like it's wild. So
Wow.
I know.
That's really intricate and in depth, honestly.
I know, right? So I want to talk a
And
little
what
bit
a
more
What I
about
full-time
really
job.
love,
I know.
what I love about this is that you can meet people doing this on Airbnb.
I know. I know. That was like when I was researching this and I found this account, I was like, wait, did I read that right? Airbnb?
That's intense.
Guys, let's save up some money and go. Let's go hang out with some mummies. Um,
I want to have a
I want to.
conversation with
Better
a
yet,
mummy. I'm
just
not gonna lie. I would totally have a conversation.
It's gonna be a little one-sided.
I don't care.
well, better yet, go to a funeral home and list your own house on Airbnb and have people come to you.
Uh,
Touche. That's probably how she's making money to pay for this shit. She's probably like, yeah,
yeah, that makes
come,
sense.
whatever. Yeah. Um, let's talk about the buffaloes a little bit. So, the buffalo is the most sacred animal in Torajan society, not just because they're like kind of cute, but they act as a measure of success by representing the family's social status, wealth, and ties to the land. And so the more buffalo, like the better. But like I said, their most important role, however, is basically safely carrying the dead to Puya, the afterlife. So getting to Puya is a long journey, and getting lost along the way would be like very much a big problem. So
Yeah.
to avoid that mess, Tarajans send along an escort of buffalo whose spirits are released when sacrificed at the funeral. Unfortunately, one buffalo can't guide them. He can't guide the dead on his own. So well, that's like what tends to kind of complicate matters and contribute to the high cost of funerals. So a minimum of 6 buffalo must be sacrificed. Though the more important the person was in the life, the more buffalo needed to carry them to Puya. So, for example, if like a village chief died, like the chief would need like 24 buffalo at a minimum before a funeral can occur. And so power and prestige are like heavy loads. Um, if a person did not acquire enough buffalo while alive, their family has to make up the difference. So, in this way, buffalo can be thought of essentially like a currency. They can be earned, bought, sold, traded, invested, banked. And there's like this whole, like, I could get into a whole separate thing around this because that was really interesting too, but I'm not going to cover it because it's actually pretty in depth. And then there's, of course, like I said, the funeral itself. So, a funeral for the Torajans is like the event of the year. It's like a hell of a party. Um, so Rambu Solo, the elaborate funeral ceremony, involves the whole community and it runs on a strict schedule, which is like, I don't know, kind of a feat. But anyway, the body is brought out on day one, animals are sacrificed on day two, and guests are welcome on day three. And some funerals go on for more than 5 days with an array of sacrifices and dancing happening before the final day, which is when the deceased is carried to their final resting place. And the funeral is set up with all of these newly built like huts that I mentioned that have that saddle roof on it, each labeled by letter with small sections arranged by number, and seating is based on social hierarchy. And so the Tongkonan all face the largest structure, which towers over the rest at front and center, and this is where the deceased preside over the events. It's their funeral, so naturally they get like the best seat in the house. And so the middle is where the bulk of the festivities happen. It's where the singing and dancing happens. It's where the animals are sacrificed, and then all the while, like this, they have like an MC that'll come and like announce what's going on, like a DJ at a wedding. And then like when the animals are sacrificed, like they'll share who brought what and what they're worth, and it's all for like these official records that they keep about this. So going back to those people that were visiting My Sky, there was actually a funeral occurring while they were visiting. So My Sky like shared the news the night prior to these people, and like promised to like lay out appropriate clothes for them to borrow, and like these people actually got to go and like attend these festivities. And so when they arrived, like they shared that they felt they were making a pit stop at a party before heading to a funeral, but then they quickly learned that in fact the funeral was the party. So they walk in and they pass these bright carts selling like Hello Kitty balloons, and there's like ice cold sodas, and then there's like
Wow.
oh, I know. And you have to present a gift to the deceased. So like people bring all kinds of different things, and then they're led to like the Tongkonan labeled number 5, which is like not the greatest seat, but also not the worst, and they're like immediately like fawned over by a gaggle of older women in all black robes, and they're like eager to say hello and feed them. And they said that they just like had wonderful conversation with them, and like kids were running around in like bright orange robes, and it was like all very colorful and happy. Um, so the burial itself happens on the final day. It's a procession of parades that like the deceased to their final resting place, and it can only be done in one of 3 places, like their final resting spot. It can be in a stone wall, on a cliffside, or in a cave. And no matter the method, they're always cleaned and well prepared for the afterlife. Before being taken to their final resting place, loved ones will fill the coffin with like money and gifts and clothes, soda, candy, whatever they can to make the journey to Puya like more pleasant. And then each August in particular, the family will reopen the grave in a ceremony known as Menene, and the deceased are cleaned, changed into new clothes, and have their coffin tidied up. And then this is a special time when younger Torajans are able to meet their ancestors, and they share stories, and like they take like selfies with like the mummies, and like update family photos, and like yeah, and then they return them to their grave. It's refilled with new gifts, and like that's it. So yeah, the burial options include hollowed out stone, which basically a coffin is hoisted up and placed inside of a hollowed out rock, which kind of helps to deter from like grave robberies.
Okay.
And so like the higher up on the rock, the more important the individual is. Cliffside ledges, rather than being put inside the rock, the coffin is actually just placed on a wooden platform attached to a cliffside, which like, I don't know, that one doesn't make as much sense to me, but whatever. In a cave, so like there are like these crypt-like caves, but because of their accessibility, they're more susceptible to grave robbers. So because of this, like a lot of bones and skulls are actually found like strewn outside of coffins, which is very sad to me. You can also go with like a tree. So in unfortunate cases, when like an infant passes, they're wrapped in cloth and they're placed in a hollow tree trunk. It's not
Oh,
so much
wow.
common practice. Yeah, I know. It's not so much common practice anymore, but it was believed that their spirit would then grow with the tree, which I think is very nice. And that is a wrap on the living dead of Tana Toraja.
That was
That
fascinating.
is really.
It was cool, right? Oh, I forgot to mention, thank you to cousin Caitlin for this topic. Thank
Oh,
you, cousin Caitlin. My
well,
bad.
it's still a cousin episode. Love it.
It's cousin city today. So yeah, that's the Tana Toraja. It was really fun to research this one. It was kind of blowing my mind a little bit when I was reading about it, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
That makes me want to see Indonesian social media now.
I know, right? Like I
Yeah.
kind of was like, how can I find some of these selfies with like mummies? I mean, I'm not here to like, criticize or anything. It just kind of blows my mind that this exists. It's
It's
something that I never would have pictured.
yeah, that's extraordinarily fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of some traditions in parts of China that
Yeah.
will have a daily or a holiday where they go and care for their ancestors and clean out their tombs and leave fresh offerings.
It's kind of like Dia de los Muertos too. Like,
A little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
there's like I guess it's kind of cool how in all these different cultures there's like little hints of these things. I wish we did more like this personally. I mean, maybe not to this extent for me, but like it'd be cool to like, I think it's
Have
nice that
something
people go and
Be
like
similar.
the
take care
change
of
you
them.
wish to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
fantastic job, Bestie. That was amazing.
thank you. This was a fun episode, and thank you again, cousin Nathan, for being on with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you did a great job. And should we let cousin Nathan say the stay strange part?
Of course we should.
Okay, Bestie, you should cue him up. You do it.
Okay, well, as always, until next time.
Stay strange.
Yay!